In November of 2000, Mike Mignola was given a crack at doing a Batman for an Elseworlds comic book for DC, which, from what I've read, didn't really set the comic book world on fire. Now, fast forward to 2023 and you are DC and you're looking to pump out another animated movie for the masses. And you are running out of ideas and some good stories to tell. Well, it's time to dig deep and pull out those obscure titles that most people have either never heard of or probably forgotten about. So I give to you...
The Great Doom is coming.
This animated movie is the 51st installment in the DC Universe Animated Original Movies line, and it comes in at 86 minutes. The movie was released on DVD, Blu-ray and 4K, and let's not forget the streaming services, on the 28th of March 2023 by Warner Brothers Discovery Home Entertainment. This movie is an adaptation of the 3-issue comic book miniseries of the same name, published from November 2000 to January 2001 under DC Comics Elseworlds imprint, and was written by Richard Pace and Hellboy creator Mike Mignola. Now, usually I will write a little synopsis here of the story in my own words, but this story is just so weird, complicated, and just plain out there that, oh bugger it, I just decided to pinch Wikipedia's description instead. So how about we go with that? This story deals with an alternate Batman in the 1920s fighting against mystical and supernatural forces that are taking Gotham by storm after he accidentally reawakens the known being as Lurker of the Threshold. That's probably the shortest and easiest way to describe this movie, as it has so many layers and so many things going on that sometimes it's hard to keep up with at times, of like how all the story aspects really intertwine with each other, and like some of the backstories of the characters. I think sometimes it's a little overcomplicated for its own good.
Doesn't sound complicated. Is it complicated?
Now look, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good story to really sink my teeth into, but I think the thing here is that what makes this story different from most of the other stories that I would really get into is all the weird Lovecraft mythology that it's based on, which adds another level on top of that, that, you know, if you're not into that sort of Lovecraft fantasy creatures, stories and etc., you might get a little bit lost in the mix, which for me I kind of did.
I'm totally lost here.
Look, from all accounts, it really does help reading the comic book prior to actually watching this movie, as some of the things in the comic were kind of left out, which explain a few of the things here and there in the movie. Look, the story feels a bit anticlimactic at the end too, but it does lean heavy into Batman as a detective more so than a superhero, which, look, I really do enjoy those parts and I really enjoy those takes of Batman. But instead of him fighting like low-level street crime, he's fighting the likes of demons and demigods and otherworldly entities with magic and mysticism.
Magic isn't real, it's tricks.
Not Batman's usual fare, shall we say. But it is it's a very different take, shall we say, on the Caped Crusader. Look, I think for me, if you're not up on your Lovecraft lore, or you haven't read the comic book before, you may struggle a little bit with this story. So for that, not being for your general audience, I'm probably going to give this a 17 out of 10.
That's enough. It's over.
As I've mentioned prior, this movie is an adaptation of the comic book miniseries written by Richard Pace and Mike Mignola. Now, I have not read the comic book. Hell, Christ, I hadn't heard about it before I watched this movie. And look, from what I've read, it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the comic book with, the usual couple of tweaks here and there. And there is probably one major one that really sticks out, and that in the original story, Bruce has Tim Drake, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd with him. However, in this movie, Jason's replaced by Sanjay Todd, and Tim is replaced by Kaylee Kane, adding an Indian and Asian representation to the mix. I think there is probably two reasons for that. First and foremost, the most obvious one is, yay, diversity. But secondly, I think it is to show the fact that Bruce has been traveling all over the world, you know, assembling this ragtag group from all the different countries he's visited. Though I don't think it really changes anything to the story, just more the aesthetics, shall we say. Look, for me, one thing that I am not a huge fan of is the villains in this. They're all just shadows of their former original characters, and they're more so in namesake than their origins from the original comics. Now, before you say, hey, these are all fresh takes on these characters, of course they're going to be different. Okay, look, I get that, that's true, but these villains felt like they were literally just namesakes and have no real ties to their origins. It almost feels like all of the Rogues Gallery were just really shoehorned in there just to make it a Batman story, as you could literally replace any one of those characters and it wouldn't make any difference to the story.
You'd still get the same outcome.
Look, the animation for me is a bit of a mixed bag, as there were some shots there where everything was just so super crisp with clean lines and just looked fantastic. But then you'd almost go to the next shot and then it was all pixelated lines. Like it's like when you zoom in on a picture on a computer really close and you can see all the lines. It was just, it could be really off-putting at times where you're watching it on your TV, starting to think, is the TV playing up or is my Blu-ray playing up? Like, it was really noticeable.
It'll be great. People will think their TV is broken.
And I did see some comments out there saying that it was reminiscent of the Batman animated series, which made me start to question, were they watching the same movie I was? Because that's nothing like it. It looks more like, this one looks more like those quickly churned out movies of late than that absolute classic animated series.
It's only the best show that's ever been on television. Ever!
Now, for the voice actors, there are a couple of the usual suspects here if we have a look at the list. And, you know, at the end of the day, no one really stood out to me. Hell, some of them sounded like they just phoned it in. And as for David Gittoli, I hope I got that right, as Bruce Wayne, he was not great. He didn't really capture the essence of the character, even though they were, like, you know, they were going for this noir horror classic vibe. It just didn't seem to fit for me at all. So, look, it was pretty average across the board on all aspects. So that's why I'm going to give this an 8 out of 20.
You don't go 812 years without making your share of interesting things.
Now, if we look at the cover, I actually really like this cover. It is good. It looks nice. Really captures your eye. Great painting on the front there of Batman. Really looks good. Now, if we look at the spine, not overly fussed on that. The use of the red on that black, it really disappears on your shelf. Now, if they actually went with this more of a golden looking logo there on the front and you put that on the side, that would stand out and look fantastic. And as far as the back goes, well, that's their template pretty much, with this just an average shot from the thing. Not a lot of effort put in the back, so yeah, gonna deduct points there for that one. Now, if we look at the disc, as you can see, it's just a shot of Batman on the front there, just with this plain printed cheap aspect that they go for nowadays, without even just going for just a nice little color print. But anyway, it's all about saving money nowadays, as they say. Anyway, overall, other than the front cover that stands out for me, the rest of it is just pretty average. So with that, that's why I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
I can't pretend to know exactly what I'm about to do.
Now, as far as the special features go on this, they're just a very standard fare for these type of releases. And on this one, we have Batman Shadows of Gotham, an audio commentary, Gotham by Gaslight and Red Sun preview, and 2 bonus cartoons from the Batman animated series, the Demon's Quest Part 1 and Part 2. So the only real thing here to watch is probably the Shadows of Gotham, which is just some talking heads about the production of the movie. So it's nothing great, but it's definitely worth a look. But the rest of this, mate, is just fill up for these releases. So for that, I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 10.
I'd rather like to think that under different circumstances, we'd be allies.
Okay, as I bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scorecard, as you can see, the critics came in at 75%, while the audience score came in at 50%. Now look, for me, the critics here seem to just gush over it with lines like, a Lovecraftian tragedy, or it's showcasing pulp horror twists. And look, I hate critics like that pander to the studios just to get free shit.
I'm not a kiss ass.
I think in this case the audience is more on the money with what this movie is about, as some of the reviews I've read really mimic a lot of what I have been saying in this video. And as you know, look, sometimes when you start doing a review, you kind of wonder if you're the only person that feels this way. Well, by the looks of things, I'm not the only one this time. Anyway, look, if we round it out, the score comes out at 6 out of 10.
Whatever the cult of Ghoul is planning, it ends.
So this is the second episode of our subscribers selection reviews video, and this was a unanimous decision for Batman. So for starters, look, I'm not really into the noir, steampunk, all that Lovecraft mythology. So I guess straight off the bat, this movie really wasn't going to be for me. But I've done my best to review all the other aspects that I've done earlier of the movie as fairly as I can, with, you know, not letting my bias in the road, shall we say. But look, as far as for me, did I like it?
No, sir, I don't like it.
Other than the fact that I found it kind of boring and the story was a bit convoluted and a bit over the top, this would have been a great story actually for like a Dr. Fate type of character, not a Batman character, as he kind of felt a bit out of place at times for me. Look, I'm not going to spoil anything, but some of the story ideas kind of felt like they had some plot holes in them, and especially with the main plot twist at the end of the movie that ties everything and everyone together, just kind of left me scratching my head. As someone who's a Batman fan and knows a lot of these characters, I'd like to think pretty well, it just didn't really sit that well with me.
It doesn't work.
But yes, this is a different take on them, that's for sure. And as I said before, the villains, they're just namesakes with no real redeeming character features of the DC origins. And that I was not a fan of either. You seem to have had characters almost creating each other in a line. Like for instance, you had Mr. Freeze, which created Poison Ivy, who then creates Two-Face, then leads on to, well, yeah, you kind of get the picture.
And so on and so on and so on.
Look, for me, this genre is not really my cup of tea. And I don't think it was well executed either, come to think of it. So, look, for that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 20.
Don't despair. The end is near.
Okay, if we look at the collector scale, I'm probably going to put this at a 2 out of 5, as it's collectible for you, this collection, but it's probably more for your Batman fans than anyone out there. And as far as availability goes, this is definitely on the one side, as it is pretty brand new and is as common as all buggery. So if we look at the average prices, you are looking at somewhere between the $10 to $19 mark for a DVD. But if you're looking for Blu-ray, you are looking at somewhere between the $12 to $30 mark. And if you're after 4K, you are looking at a little steeper, and you are looking at $26 to $50 for that one. A little pricey. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 44 out of 100. Yeah, not really a great score, is it? But as I said before, me and the general audience out there, we're pretty much on the same page with this movie. Look, as far as recommending it goes, look, if you're into that noir, steampunk, that Lovecraft mythology, then this movie is so for you. But if you're just after your plain old Batman, like me, then I'd give this a hard pass.
It's just not for everyone.
Hey, so if you like this video, you want to see some more of my reviews, why don't you click that one there? Maybe you want to see some of my collection updates, got you covered too, click that one. Or do the most important thing you can do, throw me a bat like, and please hit that subscription button on the way out. I appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.